And now I'd like to welcome you to today's webinar on the VMworld 2018 wrap-up and summary. I'm going to hand things over to our featured presenter today. He is a VMware Certified Instructor and Technical Trainer for New Horizons Computer Learning Centers, Mr. Shawn Bolan. Shawn, you now have the floor.
All right, thank you very much, Mayanne. My name is Shawn Bolan. I am coming to you out of New Horizons in Omaha, Nebraska, smack dab in the middle of the country. You see my email address there. I always make sure my students and people I'm talking to have my email address, along with putting some questions into the questions panel, which I'll take at the end. You can also email me directly after the webinar, next week, next month, whatever. If you have some follow-up questions, if I spark your interest and you want a little bit of follow-up, please reach out to me. The rest of the stuff on the screen basically just means I'm a big geek and I love this technology. I've been with New Horizons a little bit over 11 years. I have been a technical trainer since the late 90s, getting ready to celebrate my 21st year as a Microsoft Certified Trainer. Primarily a systems guy, Windows Server, Windows Client. Obviously, when the virtualization realm took over the industry, jumped on board with that. VMware Certified Instructor, and now as the cloud environments are taking over, doing a lot with cloud computing. So hopefully I can bring a little bit of knowledge to bear here today. So what are we going to talk about? Well, we're going to talk about what happened a couple of weeks ago, VMworld 2018. I'm going to highlight some of the more pertinent announcements. Going to talk about what wasn't announced, which I know it maybe sound kind of like an odd topic. What wasn't announced, but I think it's important to talk about a few things, and then how you can take that information and move forward in your environment. I'm assuming that everyone tuning in knows what VMworld is. If not, not sure why you tuned in, but if you didn't know, VMworld is VMware's big corporate conference that they hold every year. There's one here in North America, there's one in Europe. In North America, it is held typically the last week of August, and the last 3 years, it has been held in Las Vegas. And I do want to debunk a myth. We've all heard the what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. That's not true. My voice is not normally this raspy. My wife caught a cold in Las Vegas and she brought it home there when we were out there and then gave it to me. So I'm just getting over a cold. That's why my voice is a little bit raspy. I'll try not to cough into your ears as we go through here. But VMworld is the center of the virtualization universe, at least for a week, all things virtualization. Before we dive into all the cool technology, which is why you came here, I do want to mention one thing. I've been going to VMworld for years. It's an amazing conference for all the techie geeks like me to go out there, learn about all the new stuff, commune with all of our fellow geeks, etc. But if you didn't know this already, you should take your spouse, significant other, whoever that happens to be with you to VMworld, because there's some really, really, really awesome spouse activities that are out there. In fact, I think my wife might look forward to VMworld more than I do every year. Write down spousetivities.com. Go out and check out that website. It's run by a fabulous lady named Crystal Lowe. It's her company. She organizes spouse activities throughout the week, and they have an awesome time. This past year, my wife went to Zion National Park. She went dune buggy riding out in the Valley of Fire. Last year, she took a helicopter trip to the Grand Canyon. So take your spouse along. Make it a great activity for everybody. Spousetivities.com. So contact Crystal. You'll have a great time. All right, now to the fun stuff. I picked out what I think are probably the biggest or most impactful things that came up during VMworld. Now, it's a week-long conference, and if we were to go through every single individual product, individual team, there's dozens and dozens and dozens of new announcements in a short webinar like this. We want to do the highlights. So here's what I'm going to talk about. VMware Cloud and AWS, what's new, what's changed, what's different. A little offshoot of that, RDS on vSphere, which is a pretty amazing thing. For the vSphere fans in the audience, we got an announcement. There's an update coming to vSphere. talk about a new edition of vSphere coming up. And then for the cloud people, vCloud Director. First up, VMware Cloud on AWS. So VMware Cloud on AWS was a partnership that was launched a year ago in 2017. It was the big announcement at the 2017 VMworld conference. VMworld and Amazon announced that they're going to team up. And pretty amazing when you think about it. What you had was the undisputed leader in cloud computing. Amazon Web Services, AWS, is the 800-pound gorilla when it comes to cloud computing. They're over 4 times larger than the next 3 competitors combined. You have VMware, who has owned a huge majority of the on-premises data center environment. We've all virtualized our networks using vSphere technology. 2017, VMware and AWS said, we're going to merge forces. We're going to create a product set that's going to allow a VMware customer running vSphere on-prem to now run vSphere in the AWS cloud to give you a true seamless hybrid cloud environment between on-prem and in cloud using exactly the same technology set, vSphere, ESXi, vCenter, et cetera, that you've been using internally. Now, I teach a lot of cloud technologies. Everybody talks about hybrid cloud, bridging cloud and on-prem data centers. And honestly, when most people say hybrid cloud, what they really mean is I connected my on-prem environment out to the cloud. I have a connection. Okay, that's not hybrid cloud, everybody. That's just a connection. A hybrid cloud means I can use the same technology to manage my on-prem environment, the cloud environment. I can move resources back and forth, et cetera. And in my opinion, and I've worked with all the major cloud vendors out there, this was really the first true turnkey hybrid cloud system. Now, that was in 2017. What happened this year? Well, this year, VMware doubled down in a couple of different ways. For the last year, VMware and AWS have been expanding that offering, allowing you to run VMware Cloud and AWS in more regions. And what a region is it's AWS's data centers. They've got regions in Ohio, Virginia, Oregon, California, London, Paris, Hong Kong, whatever, all over the globe. And so what they've been doing is saying, well, you can now run VMware Cloud and AWS in this region, this region, and this region. And this year, Andy Jassy joined Pat Gelsinger on stage and said by the end of 2019, VMware Cloud on AWS will be in every region that AWS has. So no matter if you want to connect and run resources in Australia or Hong Kong or North America or Europe or the Middle East or whatever, you'll be able to do that. Now, that's an amazing global presence. Again, you have the predominant on-prem virtualization player, VMware, teaming up with the predominant public cloud provider, AWS. And now they're saying you're going to be able to do that everywhere. It's amazing. Next big announcement along those lines, while VMware has a strategic partnership with AWS, not all their customers are using AWS. There are other cloud providers out there. So VMware is looking at a multi-cloud strategy, what they're kind of coining their any cloud. The fact that we not only want to be able to bridge together vSphere and AWS, but when you have resources in Google Cloud or Azure, because companies are going to spread out, they're going to use a lot of different things. VMware announced that they are going to be acquiring a new company. Well, it's not a new company, they've been around for a long time, called Cloud Health Technologies. One of the preeminent vendors of cloud monitoring technologies that can span pretty much any cloud environment out there. That's going to be a part of the VMware family now. And so if you weren't convinced that VMware is all in with cloud technologies, and not just AWS, but any cloud health technologies acquisition is a huge deal. So VMware over the next few years obviously will be working to integrate that product set into the VMware family. That's awesome. Sticking with the AWS theme here, one of the amazing services that Amazon Web Services has is something called RDS, Relational Database Services. It's literally the ability to, with a couple of clicks of a mouse, spin up a SQL database or an Oracle database or a Postgres or a MySQL database in the cloud. Click, click, boom, I got my database up and running. Don't have to build the server underneath it. Don't have to manage the physical infrastructure. It's a true platform as a service offering. RDS has changed the way databases work in the cloud. It's amazing. So now, with this strategic partnership between AWS and VMware, you're now going to be able to use the AWS RDS management technology. So that AWS management console that we all love, it's so simple, it's brilliant that it's so simple. We're going to be able to use that, deploy RDS databases, but be able to deploy them on my vSphere environment, either VMware Cloud on AWS, or even have copies of those databases running on-prem. Now, a cloud geek like me looks at that, and that's incredible. I can take technology that is natively a cloud technology, and I can now, using the same cloud management tools, deploy copies of that database on-prem when I need it. That's cool. That was announced at VMworld. Now, I know what you're thinking. Cloud's cool. Yeah, we're going to go to the cloud someday, but we're still primarily a vSphere shop. All right, I'm a vSphere administrator, been teaching vSphere classes for years. It's the heart and soul of a VMware environment. Latest release is 6.7, and at VMworld, they announced 6.7 Update 1. Now, want to be careful when I say this. 6.7 Update 1 was announced, but is not yet currently available. It should be coming shortly. So, can't go download it now. It's not the biggest update that VMware has ever come out with. 6.7 was a pretty tight product initially. Some of the more pertinent things in Update 1, and I'll point out a couple of these things. The vCenter server convergence tool. This is going to be a lifesaver. Now, if you're not a vSphere administrator, bear with me. This part might go over your head. With vCenter, the latest revs, 6x release, there's a couple components we deploy. We deploy a vCenter server, we deploy a platform services controller. And the architecture that we use to deploy those, do I put them on the same machine? Do I put them on different machines? It's changed. When it came out in 6.0, people were taught do it this way. Then when we went up the next release, it says, well, you can do something different. Then in 6.5, well, you can do it different. 6.7, well, you can do it different. VMware's been refining that technology. Now, that's a good thing. I mean, advancements in technology are good. We have more options than we've had before. However, what's happened is some companies, when they deployed vSphere 6.0, they made some strategic architectural decisions, separating out the vCenter and the platform services controller, for instance. Because in 6.0, we were teaching everybody in class, yeah, this is the way you have to do it. Newer versions, you don't have to do it that way. You can re-architect. Problem is re-architecting, changing the way those are deployed, hasn't been super easy. Yeah, there were processes to get it done. You follow the KP articles, things like that. You can do it, but it's always been a little bit of work. 6.7 Update 1, vCenter Convergence tool. VMware's written a tool that says, oh, you need to fold together multiple PSCs into your vCenter server, consolidate them, change your architecture. Yeah, no problem. Here you go. Here's a tool that does that. Ta-da, done. By the way, that's going to save about an hour in my vSphere class before I would lecture teaching people how to do that. I'm like, yeah, now use the tool. Done. Another thing that has happened with Update 1, we finally, and I'm saying finally, have a single management tool that we can utilize to manage our entire vSphere environment. Those of you who are vSphere administrators have been living since vSphere 5.1 with the fact that VMware has been changing management tools. We had the old vSphere client that we installed on our Windows machine. Then in 5.1, VMware introduced a web client. They said they're going to phase out the desktop client and advance the web client. And that went from 5.1 to 5.5 to 6.0 to 6.1 to 6.5. And we've literally had, at times, 2 and 3 and sometimes 4 different management tools saying, well, use this to manage this, use this to manage that. No, this can't manage the other thing. And VMware kept saying, we're standardizing, stick with us, believe in us, we're going to do this. It's done. 6.7 Update 1. The new vSphere client, which you see here, which is written with an HTML5 interface, absolutely zero dependence on Flash technology. Flash is dead. It is here. This tool can now manage all of the functionality of our vSphere environment. There is no more. There's 2 different clients, 2 different web clients for vCenter. We are now to 1 single unified client. You have 1 web client for managing, connecting to vCenter, which is this. Each host has its own host-based client. Done and done. Back to a very simple way of going. And I cannot overemphasize enough, Flash is gone. No reliance on Adobe Flash. This is pure HTML5, which the old vSphere web client, the one that VMware introduced in 5.1, was Flash dependent. Yeah, that caused some performance headaches. You know, we lived through that. That's now history. Get to 6.7 Update 1, 1 single vSphere client. Love it. One other thing I want to talk about with vCenter here real quick. 4th bullet point down. Enhancements for HCI and vSAN. HCI, hyperconverged infrastructure. vSAN is VMware's HCI product. It's the ability to take the storage layer, bring it internal to vSphere, utilize internal disks, rather than a separate monolithic SAN. If you haven't started to look at vSAN yet, when you're out purchasing storage, you need to take a look at vSAN. And there's other hyperconverged storage options out there, but vSAN is VMware's branded product. So I love vSAN. vSAN is awesome. However, upgrades have always been a little bit problematic because vSAN is implemented in the vSphere kernel, which means when I update my host, my physical ESXi server, I'm updating vSAN as well. It's the same kernel, which is awesome, but it's in the same kernel. So now I have 2 different products. They're being updated by the same update. Throw into that the complication that with vSAN, we have a lot of hardware we're managing. We have drive controllers, we have drives, we have SSDs, we have flash storage, etc. And those drive controllers have firmware. Any admin who's ever gone through upgrading servers knows that your OS or your product upgrade can be as tight as possible, can be awesome. And a firmware mismatch or a firmware version on your hardware could blow up the whole thing. Well, now VMware has integrated the update process for vSAN with vSphere Update Manager, VUM, meaning that when we are upgrading vSAN, it can also check and be aware of the firmware versions on our drive controllers so that that is now a process that can be controlled through one product. That may seem like a minor thing because it's not like this brand new huge feature in vSAN, but for companies using vSAN and going through those upgrade processes, that is going to radically simplify their environment. vSphere 6.7 Update 1 was announced. Hope to have it available for everyone shortly. All right, a couple more things, and we'll let you get on to having the rest of your lunch hour. VMware announced a new edition of vSphere. And when I teach all of my classes, and I teach the VMware stuff all the time, I'm teaching a VMware Horizon View class this week. And if any of my students are joining me, welcome. No administrator likes to talk about licensing. It's never a fun topic. So when I teach my vSphere classes, I have to teach about licensing. And we say, okay, well, we have a standard edition license. We have an Enterprise Plus license. With this license, you get this features. With this license, you get this features. And okay, we got to sort it out. Licensing is important. So VMware's coming out with a new edition. There's something above Enterprise Plus now. Some administrators are now rolling their eyes. Oh, great, another licensing decision to make. And yeah, that's true. Another licensing decision to make. However, this particular item might be one of the most impactful long-term items that we've run across in a long time. So back in 2017, one of the big things that VMware announced was a product called App Defense. Now, if you missed the announcement in 2017 of App Defense, what is App Defense? It is a radically different approach to the idea of security. So the security industry for years, and again, with respect to every security partner out there, the security industry for years has been an industry of bolt-on products. When viruses and malware became an issue, we bolted on products. Now we bolt on antivirus on our operating system. We bolt on malware detection. We bolt on packet inspection at the network. We bolt on firewalls. As each new kind of threat has come about, the security industry has responded, and we have more products and more products and more products and more products, and they're all laying on top of each other. They're all being bolted on. They're all causing overhead. And we've been in this reactive kind of a scenario. So in 2017, VMware announced this product called App Defense. And if I can paraphrase Monty Python, and now for something completely different. So what VMware says is, we're going to approach this in an entirely different way. Since we own the vSphere kernel, the low-level operating system that all our VMs are running on, the ESXi host, why don't we just center security right there at the lowest level possible? And rather than taking a security approach of running around and trying to find all of the bad things, why don't we flip the scenario around? Why don't we just learn what's normal? Why don't we just look at all the processes? What do they normally talk to? Where's the network traffic normally come from? What ports, what protocols, etc. Let's just baseline normal behavior. And if something's normal, we don't have to worry about it. But when something starts to happen that is abnormal, we should pay attention to that. That's what the App Defense product is all about. Again, it's in its infancy. It was announced in 2017. There's literally only a couple hundred customers that are starting to use it. It is a product that is in its infancy. But VMware believes so strongly in this. And the day before VMware started, I had the pleasure of sitting in a meeting with Pat Gelsinger, the CEO of VMware, and Pat always gives a talk to trainers like myself before the event, kind of tells us all the cool stuff that's going to come out. And Well, Pat is a great speaker. I've rarely seen him get this animated. Pat really, truly believes that VMware can take the security industry and stand it on its head and say, we're going to approach this a completely different way. So, what is vSphere Platinum? It's a new edition of vSphere that is going to incorporate all of the cool things that we've added on with security through the years in vSphere, like encrypted vMotion, TPM 2.0, et cetera, and built-in app defense. So that from a purchasing perspective, or a SKU perspective, if you want to call it that, from VMware, when I go and license vSphere, I can be buying into this one unified set of technologies that obviously is my virtualization technologies. I still got to run my VMs, but it is built on security, security, security from the lowest layer possible. So vSphere Platinum, vSphere Enterprise Plus, plus App Defense. Again, App Defense might not be on your radar today, but I bet if we talk about this a year from now, 2 years from now, we'll be looking back and go, wow, remember a time when we didn't use this? That was crazy. So, new edition of vSphere. Last item, take some questions if you have it. If not, we'll let you roll on and grab your lunch. vCloud Director. I'm vCloud certified with VMware, top vCloud Director courses. vCloud Director is a product that in some ways has almost become overshadowed by things like VMware Cloud and AWS. VMware Cloud and AWS lets me take my on-prem environment, link it to the AWS public cloud. Cool. What if I'm a service provider? What if I am in the business of building and managing cloud computing for my customers? That's what vCloud Director is all about. vCloud Director is a product that's been around a long time that has been about companies building and managing their own private cloud environments. Now, some people hear private cloud and they think that's a bad word because public cloud like AWS is so awesome. Well, it is, but there is still a significant use case for building private clouds and even having service providers that build these cloud resources and then sell them to their customers. vCloud Director remains the product to do that. And it kind of goes unnoticed a little bit underneath the covers, but VMware has announced, or they did announce, version 9.5, integrating in even deeper NSX, the virtualization stack, the next generation of NSX, which is NSX-T, which is multi-hypervisor NSX, the ability to take NSX and lay it across anybody's hypervisor. So in some ways, this is an incremental upgrade to the product. It's not a brand new product, but it's worth mentioning. And now the other thing that's really cool is vCloud Director is deployed as a virtual appliance. And anyone who's taken any of my classes knows that I'm a huge fan of appliances. When a vendor can give me pretty much a pre-built VM and say, here, import this, turn it on, set it up, and the product is running, 2 thumbs up. I love that. Want to talk for a moment about what was not announced. And when I was putting together this presentation, I kind of thought back to all of my experiences going to VMware, or VMworld, excuse me. 5, 6, 7 years, however long I've been going there, I don't even remember. It used to be everybody would be looking forward to going to VMworld 60, 90 days in advance. If you trolled around online, you saw this big guessing game going on. What's going to be the big announcement? And there was usually like 1 or 2 show-stopping, to use the term, announcements at VMworld that would set the world on fire, all the buzz, a new version of vSphere or a major upgrade to Horizon View or something like that. And what's happened over the last couple of years is we have seen fewer of those big splash type announcements. Now, they still do happen. 2017, VMware Cloud on AWS, that was a big splash announcement. That was literally no one had ever done that ever. Amazon had never let anyone into their data center, and VMware had never partnered with a company that did a fundamentally different kind of business. So that was huge. Back in 2012, VMware purchased Nicira Technologies, which became NSX. That was huge. That was monstrous. But it has seemed over the past few years that those big splash announcements haven't been coming as often. And I've heard some people talk and say, wow, it's just not the same kind of VMworld. And it made me think, is VMware not innovating anymore? Are they not changing? And the answer is no, they're probably changing more than they ever have and innovating and bringing us new products. It's just that when you look across the VMware ecosystem, go back 10 years, all we had was vSphere. That was it. And so everything was a giant announcement because it was all brand new. And then we added in end user computing, and then we added in vSAN, we added in NSX. Well, VMware has this incredibly broad and deep ecosystem of products. They still have the best of breed products across the board, and they're still pushing the envelope on every one of those products. It may seem like we have fewer of those big splash announcements, but that's really a factor of the maturity of their product set, which is a good thing. Again, try to find another company that dominates the virtualization realm, the virtual networking realm, the end user computing realm with Horizon View, Workspace ONE, App Volumes, UEM, etc., and the hyperconverged storage realm with vSAN, and then has a direct partnership with the biggest public cloud provider out there. They don't have a comparison. So are we going to see big announcements in the future? Sure. But lack of those giant killer big splash announcements, that doesn't mean there's not progress. So again, kind of an editorial comment on my part, but this last VMworld was, I think, kind of a case in point of very important announcements, but just adding to the deep product set that we already have. Okay. All right, so what's next? Well, New Horizons obviously is a VMware partner, multiple time winner of VMware's Authorized Training Partner of the Year. Reach out to New Horizons, newhorizons.com, to your local New Horizons center, to your account executive, and find out how we can help you, because that's why we are in business. We are in business to help you, okay? To make sure that you can succeed, and we do that through education, whether it's our partnership with VMware or Microsoft or Cisco or the different cloud technologies and AWS classes, etc. So please, please, please reach out to us. Let us assist you in getting where you need to go. All right. If there are questions, I will take those. Of course, follow-up questions, you can send me those personally via email, should you want to or need to do that. Thank you for attending. Hopefully you did a couple things.
Thank you so much, Shawn. Again, just echoing what Shawn says, if you have any questions, please feel free to type it in the questions box right now. I'll give you a few minutes to do that. And again, if you're interested in any of the material presented on this webinar, or if you have any other questions regarding available course offerings, please contact your local center for more information. Our webinar schedule is also up to date on our website, newhorizons.com. Just click on the webinars link to view the full schedule and register for any upcoming sessions. And another friendly reminder, I'll be sending out an archive recording link to you today's webinar, or for you to pass on to any of your colleagues who may have missed the session. And you know what, Shawn? It looks like you did such a great job with the wrap-up. We don't have any questions for you. But again, like Shawn said, you could also reach out to him personally here with his information. And with that said, thank you for joining us. You may all now log off and have a great day. Thank you.